She thought the human brought her to suffer, but he freed her instead. The auction chamber smelled of metal, fear, and oil. Under the harsh white lights, a young alien girl stood trembling, her skin a soft green glow under cold chains. Her name was Aria, though no one had called her that in years. To them, she was just Lot 47. Her thin wrists ached from the cuffs. Her heart pounded as voices filled the hall. Strong physique, Vithari race, prime condition. Perfect for labor or pleasure. Every word made her shiver. She stared at the ground, whispering to herself, "Please, let it be quick this time." The crowd of traders and mercenaries laughed and called out prices. Then the noise dimmed when a deep human voice cut through the crowd. "I'll take her." The room went silent. Heads turned. A human, a middle-aged man in a long tan coat, stood with his hands in his pockets. His face was hard, lined by years and loss. His grey eyes were calm but distant, like someone who had seen too much of the galaxy's cruelty. Even the auctioneer hesitated. A human, buying a Vithari. That's unusual. "My credits are good, aren't they?" the man said. "Sold." The gavel slammed, chains clinked. And with that sound, Aria's fate changed forever. When they led her out, she dared a glance at him. He didn't meet her eyes, didn't smile, didn't speak. That silence terrified her even more. They reached his ship, small, scratched, old. Not the kind used by slavers. But Aria didn't dare hope. Humans were clever, cruel in quiet ways. Inside the ship, she stood in the corner like a shadow, waiting for pain. The man pressed a button and her chains fell open with a click. She gasped, stumbling back. Why did you—" "Because you don't need them," he said. He walked past her and began checking the ship's systems as if freeing a slave was nothing worth mentioning. Aria stared at her wrists, red where the metal had been. She didn't move. "If you try to run," he said softly, still facing the console, "the air outside this planet will kill you, so sit. Eat if you can." He pointed to a small tray with food, soup, real soup, not the dry rations given to slaves. She didn't move. She didn't trust it. When he turned, she whispered, "Is this a trick?" "No," he said, "just food." To prove it, he took a spoonful himself. "See?" Her stomach growled. Carefully she ate. It was warm. Too kind. Too wrong. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. That night, for the first time in years, she didn't sleep on the floor. He gave her a blanket, soft, old, and smelling of metal and soap. When the engines hummed, Aria peeked through the cockpit door. The man was steering through starlit darkness, his eyes tired but focused. He caught her watching. "You don't have to hide," he said. "Come sit." She obeyed, nervous, sitting far from him. Silence filled the cabin. After a while, she whispered, "What will you do with me?" He didn't look at her. "Nothing. You're free." Her mind couldn't accept that. Free to what? To die out there? He sighed, rubbing his eyes. "You've been treated like property for too long. I can't change that. But I can make sure it ends with me." Aria stared. This man, this human, didn't act like any master she had seen. There was sadness in his eyes, like he was carrying ghosts. That night, she wandered quietly and found him asleep in the cockpit. A small photo lay on the console beside him. A smiling young human girl, maybe 12, holding a star-shaped pendant. Beneath it was a name, Lena. Aria touched the photo gently. The girl's eyes were bright, full of life. She reminded Aria of the person she used to be, before chains. "She was my daughter," a voice said behind her. Aria froze. The man was awake, his gaze soft. "They took her," he continued quietly. "The syndicate. Same ones who took you. I couldn't save her." He looked away. "Now I just help who I can." For the first time, Aria understood. This wasn't pity. It was guilt, the kind that never fades. Days passed. The ship drifted through empty space carrying two broken souls. Arya started helping, cleaning, repairing wires, learning controls. She didn't know why she wanted to. Maybe because for once, someone treated her like she mattered. He never raised his voice, never ordered her. When she accidentally spilled oil on the console, she flinched, waiting for a strike. But he only said, "It's okay, we'll clean it together." Arya blinked. "You're not angry?" He smiled faintly. "Anger's a waste of fuel." Her heart warmed. She smiled back, small, fragile, but real. One day the ship jolted violently. Alarms blared. "Raiders!" he shouted. "Hold on!" Arya gripped the seat. Through the window, red flashes filled space. Pirate ships surrounded them. "Why are they chasing us?" she cried. "Because I helped someone they wanted to sell," he said grimly. "Seems they don't like competition." He pushed the ship into a dive, weaving through debris. Explosions rocked the hull. Arya screamed, "You could leave me. Save yourself." He glanced at her. "I already tried saving myself, didn't work." He turned sharply, flying into an asteroid belt. Metal scraped, sparks flew, the ship shuddered. Arya saw a plasma bolt hit the rear engine. Fire erupted. "Stay here," he yelled, rushing toward the flames. She followed anyway. Smoke filled the corridor. He was fighting the fire, coughing. His arm burned, skin blistering. Without thinking, she grabbed a hose, spraying foam, shielding him with her body. The ship steadied. He collapsed to his knees, coughing. "You saved me," he rasped. "You saved me first," she said. They looked at each other, human and alien, slave and savior, and something invisible connected them. Hours later, they hid in the shadow of a dead moon. The raiders gone. Arya treated his burns, wrapping his arm gently. "You're reckless," she said softly. He laughed weakly. "So are you. Why risk your life for someone like me?" He looked at her, eyes tired but kind. "Because no one else ever risked theirs for me." Her throat tightened. She wanted to say thank you, but the words came out as tears instead. Weeks passed. Arya learned how to fly. She learned human words, human laughter, human music. He taught her constellations, told her stories of Earth, blue oceans, green forests, open skies. She listened like a child hearing magic. One night, as they floated near a nebula glowing like a living storm, Arya asked, "Will you ever go back to Earth?" He shook his head. "Earth doesn't feel like home anymore, not without her." Arya touched his hand gently. "Then maybe we find a new one." He smiled, the kind of smile that came from hope returning after years of silence. But peace didn't last long. A distress signal came from a nearby colony, a syndicate attack. He wanted to avoid it, but Arya said, "You helped me. They deserve the same." He stared at her, at the courage in her once frightened eyes. Then he nodded. "All right, let's do it." They landed amid chaos, smoke, fire, terrified refugees. Together, they guided civilians into the ship. Arya moved fast, fearless. The human covered her from above with his blaster. At one point, a syndicate soldier aimed at her. The man jumped in front, taking the shot in his shoulder. She screamed, catching him as he fell. "Stay with me." He smiled through the pain. "You're braver than you think, Arya." With trembling hands, she pulled him into the ship, blasting off into orbit. They made it. Barely. He lay weak on the floor, bleeding. She pressed against the wound, tears streaking her green cheeks. "Don't die," she whispered. "Not after everything." He looked at her, not as a slave, not as an alien, but as something far more human. "Freedom means nothing," he said, voice fading, "if you don't share it." She held his hand as his eyes closed. He survived. Barely. When he woke, she was at the window watching stars drift by. She turned, smiling softly. "We're safe, and the people from the colony. They made it." He tried to sit up. "You did good, Arya." She laughed through tears. "We did." Days later, on a neutral world, he handed her a data pad, legal documents marking her as free. No one owned her now. No one ever would. She stared at the screen, trembling. "You're letting me go?" He nodded. "That's what freedom means." She stepped closer, shaking her head. Then let me stay. Not as property. As crew. He chuckled. You really want to fly with an old man? She grinned. You're not old, you're human. And he laughed, a sound that felt like light breaking through the dark. Months passed. The galaxy still burned in places, but somewhere within it a small ship carried 2 survivors, a human haunted by loss and an alien who found her courage again. Sometimes she sat beside him in the cockpit, pointing at the stars. That one, she'd say, looks like hope, and he would smile quietly. Maybe that's what we've been chasing all along. In a universe ruled by cruelty, sometimes a single act of kindness becomes a revolution. She thought the human bought her for pain. Instead, he gave her freedom and a reason to believe again. That's what being human means, no matter what world you're from.